Hello, everybody. Welcome to this sixth already Google Hangout session. We did it on another time at 6:30 for us here in the Netherlands, in the hope that we could have Amber to join us because the other sessions were always during nighttime for her. Unfortunately, she does not succeed in joining us in this Google Hangout. She will try during this session, but I'm not sure that it will work. It's a pity because she also asked a colleague of her who is doing the first time a PBL course and wanted to share her experience with you. So let's hope that they'll still join us today, and otherwise we'll try to set up some perhaps an additional hangout session will go with that, so that you can at least also have the opportunity to talk and to post your questions to her as well. As you may see, there's on the right side, you have the opportunity ask questions. Just a quick instruction, probably again for some. On top of the screen, you can see a small rubric where you can click on for the Q&A questions. If we look at what's going on in the Google Hangout, a number of you have submitted their assignments, and we see that you're all, well, not all groups, but most of the groups are working very hard. Um, and it's interesting for us to see that there are kind of differences in the way you approach the problems. Also, some of you, and that's not a problem, really focus on something very specific, which deviates a little bit sometimes from the assignment that was asked. As long as it's very interesting for you and you learn something from it, it's okay for us. The reason probably so hard on the group assignment, that's also why we see that on the discussion forum, well, there are some contributions or new contributions, but it's quiet on the discussion forum. And I hope that just means that you're working very hard in your group. If I look, well, if we so as we told you, we some of are observing in your groups, and it's interesting to see the diversity of how people work together. Some of you are really focused and use all kinds of tools to achieve the assignment. Some of you just discuss in the group chat, and then there's one person who makes a summary every week of what is said in the discussion. And it, of course, this results in different products because on the one hand you have a summary with different opinions, on the other hand you have a group product. um, I leave it up to you to see what's most feasible. Of course, if we think of collaborative work, the idea is to come up with a group product as such. I looked at the assignments for track one. We had kind of 17 assignments that were delivered. And also there we see some diversity. Some of you really come up because the assignment was of the role of the tutor in the pre-discussion phase. And we see that really have concrete tips, and they even put tables with small sentences you can use as a tutor. That's very nice to see. Others put it on a more abstract level, which is also okay. Um, what's not always very clear when I read the assignments is what the resources are you base yourself on. So I think that's also important because we can give some tips. We can say, okay, a tutor has to do this and this and this, or it may help if it does. But it's also important to look whether there's some evidence in the literature to support those guidelines. That's a small reflection on track one. Then, so the two colleagues you've seen most often, Herco and Danielle, could not join today, and we also thought it's nice to see sometimes somebody else, but unfortunately that person does not succeed in in attending. But Daniela also gave or sent me her reflection on track 2. So there, the second assignment was about constructing problems for PBL, and the questions are: what is a good problem? What are criteria to evaluate a problem? How do you make a problem? If we see the booklet that is provided in the study materials, show that at the University of Maastricht we distinguish between different kind of problems, and not all of them are real problems in the sense that they can be solved. Some are more meant to stimulate students to phenomenon and explain how it works. Some are written to stimulate more discussion between students about theories and viewpoints. And it seems that some of the teams were surprised by that. So that apparently the idea was that the problem is something you can actually solve. So it's interesting to see. Um, it assignment stimulated track 2 participants to make problems and to discuss them in their teams. And it seems that the teams have been very creative and in constructing the problems, also in a large variety of domains, using the Olympic Games to stimulate students to study muscles, or a description of a first working day to make students think about the structures of companies. So it's very interesting to see the diversity, and it's also a nice way of learning from one another. And that's also what we really want to stress, the contributions of the other team members, because you can learn from it, and it gives you another perspective. And there's even and that was on the discussion forum, one group who organized the voting system. So they put their different kinds of problems, and all participants could vote. It's really nice. It's a nice initiative, and so if you still want to vote, you can go there and do this. It will help the group also to see what you think of the problems they constructed. Um, One thing that we often struggle with is how much clues should we give in the problem description. On the one hand, we think the problem should be so that it really can stimulate brainstorming and a deeper discussion. On the other hand, if students go astray and completely off topic, that is not good either. Of course, this is also a little bit related perhaps to the role of the tutor. And when Daniela looks at your contributions, she also sees that some teams struggle with this too. To this question, not straightforward one. And sometimes it's kind of up to the teachers to decide how much they put into the problem, which cues they give into the problem, and so on. And it leads to a more general point that PBL problems need maintenance. In practice, we are continuously collecting feedback from students, from teachers, to see what works in the problem and what does not work. And this leads to kind of small changes, small adjustment, but it also leads to improvement of the problems. And when you have a second run, you can actually have a better problem to start working on. Herco also looked at the problems in or the assignments in track 3, but there it's more difficult to get kind of a line in it. It's very diverse. People work are also very differently. It's also the track with the least problems in there. But we'll come back to that in another session. And perhaps today, perhaps something interesting that I do want to share with you, and it's kind of related to, I think, all tracks actually. I'm currently, and that's perhaps also why you see I'm in a kind of hotel room setting. I'm currently attending a conference in the Netherlands on medical education, and the keynote speaker, Reger, he talked about, yeah, it was related to an implicit curriculum, but he stressed once again that we design things that we assume certain roles, that we assume knowledge, that we also assume that they want to achieve the same goals as we want to achieve with this education or with following a specific program. And if these assumptions are true, then probably the problem and the way a tutor works is okay and will lead to that goal. But this assumption is often not true. Students are sitting there with a different kind of perspective, or they do understand, for instance, a problem differently. We think we put in some support in there, or we think as if we help them by asking them questions, but perhaps we are more confusing them. And so, yeah, it was a very interesting discussion. And I think when you work on your problem, sometimes it's also good to think about, okay, but what would a student think if he saw or she saw this problem, and so on. These were a little bit my reflection of what has been going on. I don't see any questions yet here on the right side. Um, So I apologize for this absence of Amber. I'm sure she's feeling very sad about it. So we tried to come to a solution, but did not succeed. In any case, if you still have questions, you can pose them on the discussion forum. And so I'll discuss with Amber whether we'll do an additional Google Hangout with her. And if we do so, we will put an announcement on the platform so that you are aware of this new because the other Hangout sessions have been planned before. Yeah. Okay, so sorry. I think it's because tomorrow is Friday the 13th. So perhaps that's some kind of indication of what's going to happen tomorrow. Thanks for listening and see you next time, hopefully with a little bit more discussion. Oh, wait, I see there's a question coming in. So the question is by Razim, and he asked whether we did consider the EDDI model, and I'm not sure whether everybody knows it. It's a model to design, and the letters represent analyze, design, develop, evaluate when designing PBL courses. He says that he would like to integrate 4CID model offered by the MOOC to EDDI model. What is your opinion about this idea? I think they are not exclusive. The EDDI model is more general, like 4CID model is kind of a model to design environments for complex learning. And the EDDI model is a general design model. And of course, if you use if you want to use 4CID model, the step like analyzing a task analysis is something you typically do on beforehand. You also analyze what the needs are, what needs to be changed, and so on. Then you go to the design, you develop it, implement it, and evaluate. So you can, according to me, you can easily integrate those two. It's not that one is better than the other. It's a way of approaching. If you want to implement a new design, the EDDI model can help you because it's the whole process. It's from the start where you analyze your problem to the design you make, and that can be a design according to the 4CID model. And then you go develop your environment, you implement it, and you evaluate it, and you start the cycle over again. I hope that answers the question. I also see that Amber is online, but she cannot find how to connect. So the idea is that we send an invitation and enter then the session. So Amber, I'm sorry, cannot really um, I cannot really solve this problem now, but so I promised the viewers that we will have a look to see whether we can do a separate Google Hangout session with you and perhaps Linda if she's still available, and that I would announce it on NovoEd. So I hope that will work. Okay? So then I'll close this session, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.